Well, I was born yesterday.
Changes soon, can get a doobie on a plane, but there's Uzis in our schools. Every dude who touched a boob or a booty getting me tooed. What you expect from the kids who went to Hooters after school? We're all triggered and defensive, we're all racist and we're sexist. We all grew up watching South Park. How are we offended? Now being fat is beautiful? Name a thing that you can't do. Jumping jacks, run a mile, live past 42. Man, it used to be cool to just flip a bird to the system, and now it's trendy to be triggered and pretend you're a victim. It's my race, it's my weight, it's because I'm a Christian. I hate the internet and anyone who has an opinion. And everybody angry if you say white. Okay, fine. Pass me the brush and I'll paint my face to the shades right. Let's talk about abortion. Sorry, tell me how this works. Bacteria is life on Mars, but a heartbeat isn't life on Earth? Weird.
Y'all so stupid. Why are y'all so stupid? Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them. Y'all so dumb. People so stupid. People so dumb. People so boo-hoo. Wah, wah, wah. Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb.
I'm a hater cause I can't relate to gay pride. Call me homophobic because I don't wanna date guys. K-tight. I for one am not surprised the world declined along the way. Give trophies to children for losing just cause they decide to play. We exercise our right to vote and hate the politicians. Ay, this is a democracy, it's partly your decision. Ay, this is weird, feels like this a different year. If I identify as a female, then when my balls and penis disappear. Children want a gender switch and hating men is feminist. Depression and anxiety are trendy, we're too sensitive. Invented 80 genders, mad the world is not accepting it. Then gave them more attention than normal women and men can get. What a contradiction, being human is so tragic. Focus on minorities, ignoring all the masses. Hallelujah, everyone. Activism saved the planet. No more plastic straws and paper, just paper straws wrapped in plastic. Congratulations.
Y'all so stupid. Why are y'all so stupid? Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them. Y'all so dumb. People so stupid. People so dumb. People so boo-hoo. Wah, wah, wah. it's so dumb.
Look, I get it, it's like the world is going crazy. Seems like a school shooting happens almost daily. The racism, rape culture, hatred that we're facing is way too ingrained for our hashtags to change it. We've become so lazy and complacent, afraid of our generation. We think activism's Instagramming memes and complaining. It's a problem when there's actually actions you could be taking, but you're triggered, so you just cry like a baby.
Y'all so stupid. Why are y'all so stupid? Get better problems, I swear to God that y'all want them, y'all so dumb. People so stupid, people so dumb. People so boo-hoo, wah. Get better issues, we're gonna run out of tissues, it's so dumb.
You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to yet again another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. That's right, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham. I have a big announcement.
what? Whoa, big announcement.
Yeah.
I'm surprised right now. I don't know what's coming.
Gotta wait for the music to fade. Yeah. I want everybody to be able to hear me when I say this.
You don't have your moon shirt on. That's your big announcement.
Oh, my bad.
I just realized that.
Just lay it
Sporting
on you.
that Rick and Morty.
Just like lay it on you like
hilarious.
a blanket.
Because, well, it's funny because last week you forgot it too.
Speaking of my big announcement, it also it's not as anything as grand as what you're hoping.
You better not
for.
be leaving Red Moon.
I'm going commando right now. Not only am I not wearing my moon shirt, I never put underwear on today.
Wow.
Why? Because I work from home and I didn't have to.
You know what that really is? That is the true form of liberty right there.
Freedom.
Nothing.
Ball freedom.
He is letting his freedom ring down below. That is what he's
I had
doing.
to put pants on to go out back to do something, and I just slid them on, no underwear, and I
said,
never,
it.
yeah.
And then he left the rest
And
of
then
the day.
I've been like this all day, no
Well,
underwear. I just
absolutely.
wanted everybody to know.
You never got the pouch underwear?
No.
I'm the only one that bit that bullet.
You've tried them though?
Oh, I have them.
Oh, are you wearing them right
What?
now?
No, I'm not right
Oh,
now.
well,
I have 3 pair.
You need to wear them on the show, and we'll do an official
Show 'em.
review. We'll show.
They actually are very nice.
They are. Well, because I just bought some.
they're very comfy.
And I'm telling you, they were supposed to be this nice polyester blend on Amazon called Natural Filling. They suck.
Yeah.
They're great in terms
They're
of comfort.
cancer causing.
But
is what they probably are.
They probably do. I probably have to wear a mask just to keep that from happening. A mask around my scrot.
Testicular cancer
that's
from
right.
the underwear that you wear.
But here's the problem. They get a hole after like 2 or 3 weeks after putting them in the wash after wearing
What
them.
type of damn? I buy Hanes from Walmart
That's what
that
I'm
lasts
saying.
longer
I
than
know.
that.
Trust me, I'm pissed.
Because Hanes are cotton.
And I had this other weird brand that they sold on Amazon.
Yep.
And it was called
there's-
Kaizu.
There's millions of them.
They
on
don't
there.
even have them anymore. But those freaking lasted forever. I loved those things. I could put those in the wash 80 times and they were still fine. But these damn
There's
natural
actually,
fillings.
it's really funny because there's a pair. There's like when I was looking for these pouch underwear on there.
Yeah.
Like I ended up going with the Sepratech is what they're called.
Sepratech.
But they actually, it's funny because they actually had underwear on there that were called Unix something. And it literally,
What was it
literally
for?
That's in the name. It's like, but the way they spell it was like UNIX. It was like Unixipy or something like that. It was like some weird, like, I swear these like Chinese companies just like, they put
They probably
English
have no
letters
idea.
together and they think it makes a word, but it doesn't. Like I don't get it.
Well, they probably heard of the medical term, and then they just throw
But
something
it's,
on the end
it's
of
like
it. Unixipy.
Unixipy.
And it's like,
It's
well,
you don't want to wear underwear called
yeah, exactly.
Unix.
But I will
It is
say,
funny.
Well, then you
I
wouldn't need
want-
it to separate. You know,
no,
I thought you wouldn't
it
need
would
a
be
separate
all
powder.
one compartment.
Yeah.
But send us your emails
About their underwear?
Yes.
Yeah.
The-
We
I
want to
need
hear
to
about
write.
your pants.
I wanna write a bad review to Natural Feeling on Amazon.
Natural
And
Feeling.
I want to find a.
I wouldn't even
unique-
buy underwear that was called Natural Feeling. I just feel
It's
like that's a
nice.
lie.
They're nice.
They
do
lasted
feel
They
3
good.
feel
weeks.
natural.
They do. They're not.
It's like
I
you're
don't-
wearing
I
skin
don't
instead of
have-
underwear?
I
That's
don't
just
have.
creepy.
That's
It's
like
supposed
Buffalo
to-
Bill.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wouldn't
It's
buy
supposed
it.
to be soft as cotton, but not as expensive. And
What if you did have like underwear that was almost
Flesh
like,
underwear?
Oh gosh,
Oh,
that would
man.
be so gross.
I mean, in some countries, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I'm bet you it, like you just slide right into them.
It's like wearing someone else's skin.
You don't understand my life until you've worn
That's-
my
yeah.
skin.
That's like when you look in
Until
the
you walked
mirror
a mile in
while
my
you're looking
skin.
at wearing them. You look in the mirror and you're like, definitely.
It makes me. It makes me think.
It's like it's already tough.
I just watched like on YouTube recently the episode, like the scene from The Office where Dwight cuts the face off of the CPR dummy, and he's like, I saw it in the movie Silence of the Lambs, and I
Yeah.
thought it was unrealistic, but now that I've actually done it, it is realistic.
But yes, I want to write them a bad review, and I want it to be creative. I want it to be good. So yeah, send me your comments. RMPodcast@redmoonproductions.com. I'm gonna throw it up there. We got the time.
Do it.
We got
Do
that
it.
email.
Do it. I'm enjoying the coffee.
RMPodcast@redmoonproductions.com. It's that half and half you got.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, and it's maybe at this time of the night we don't need the full calf.
True.
We just need
I just need the
half-caffeinated.
flavor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just need the flavor.
Yeah.
We got plenty of
flesh,
flavor.
If you had flesh underwear, do you think you'd have to like put lotion on it all the time to keep it soft?
Yeah, you have to have some serious chafing.
What if it got ashy?
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Hell.
It gets dried out, and then
I mean,
it
my
just starts
n-
peeling.
Oh,
Gross.
what if it could get sunburnt? Like, well, when would you be out in the sun? in
Actually,
your
what
underwear,
if I could
guess?
get those that actually made me look tan,
Oh,
and it just blended
looks like
in
you
with
have
your
a spray
skin?
tan
Yeah,
just down there.
yeah, and you just like it blends in with your skin, and it's like you don't even have to worry about tan lines.
As
That would
weird
be
as
the
this
way to do it.
conversation is, I feel like flesh underwear is not out of the realm of the movie that we were reviewing.
True.
I mean, there was some. I'm
That's
just
a very
saying.
good segue.
I'm just
Trying.
saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm being honest. I don't think that it's any more bizarre than some of the things we witnessed. And not that I think bizarre is a bad thing, but when there's nothing else, we can listen to the review.
I guess we can get into our review. So yes, here is our review of Mr. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
From the beautifully twisted mind of James Gunn comes The Suicide Squad, the quasi-sequel/reboot to David Ayer's failed Suicide Squad, which released back in 2016. Scalping Gunn from Marvel back during the brief time he had been fired by Disney, DC and Warner Brothers sought Gunn's unique style to help breathe new life into the DC Extended Universe. Given the option to direct whatever property he wished, James Gunn elected to revitalize Suicide Squad, which, given his record on Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel, seemed like a perfect fit. Now, Gunn's take on Task Force X has released, and while twisted, it's not quite beautiful. Seeing the return of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, alongside newcomers Idris Elba as Bloodsport and John Cena as Peacemaker, with a revolving door of co-stars that includes Sylvester Stallone voicing standout character King Shark, the Suicide Squad's premise is still the same. A group of convicts are offered a pardon in exchange for carrying out an impossible task for their government. Most will die along the way, but any who survive can walk free. The mission this time around concerns something called Project Starfish, with the Suicide Squad tasked with destroying everything related to the project. And this is all the story the movie really offers. Everything else is just an excuse for James Gunn to show off every wacky idea he can come up with. Typically, James Gunn's ideas and antics are a reason to cheer, and the movie does offer up a ton of fun and laughs. But there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. An unrestrained Gunn does give us brilliant moments such as everything surrounding King Shark and hilarious antics involving Polka Dot Man's mother, but the problem is there's never anything to ground the movie again once things go off the rails. With little story and character development, the hijinks sometimes grow tedious. The Suicide Squad is, however, a huge improvement over its predecessor. While there still is not enough development in the film to make me care about any of its characters, they are still better written and more enjoyable to watch than the first movie. The set pieces are well done, with tons of unique action and tons of gore. The movie is a lot of fun. James Gunn just tries to cram way too much into the film. Despite being praised for its uniqueness as a comic book film, the movie honestly does not offer up anything audiences haven't seen before. The R-rated antics and oddball family comedy has been covered by Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy already. But what is even worse is being Gunn's 5th feature-length film, we've also already seen the same macabre humor in his earlier works, Slither and Super, and of course he is the man that directed Guardians. The film is fun because it is James Gunn's humor, and a letdown because it's nothing more. The Suicide Squad ultimately serves no purpose other than being an outlet for James Gunn to do whatever he wants, but without any heart, with no characters to really relate to or root for, and no story worth telling. The bizarre humor only takes the film so far, and even it is sometimes too much. Even still, it's one of the better movies to come from DC. I give The Suicide Squad 2.5 out of 4 stars.
2.5 out of 4 stars for the old
It's
Suicide Squad.
probably not the most popular opinion out there right now, but I don't care because I think it's the honest opinion.
Screw you! It's 4 out of 4. It's the greatest movie ever. I kid.
I do.
I'm absolutely on par with you.
I do
2.5.
understand the
Really?
appeal.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I
Okay.
do understand the appeal of the movie. I just, especially from James Gunn, definitely don't think it's his best movie. It's all just his weirdness and no other substance, and that's just ultimately why I did settle for 2.5, because while some of the comedy is funny, like I do think it's an entertaining movie, and there are times I laughed.
Yeah.
There's no other substance to it, and I'm like, I want something more that, like, the antics aren't enough for me to make me want to rewatch it. Like, I've seen all the crazy stuff. There's only one scene in the whole movie that I could watch over and over again.
Yeah, and we
Send it
have.
to us.
Yeah.
More dumb friends. Let's just get it out there.
King Shark is definitely the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
but-
Well, him and Polka Dot Man.
Yes.
And I want to get this off the top right away,
Yes.
because the reason they actually, I think, did more for me in this movie was because, guess what? I actually had to see the movie to see them.
Yeah, they're not in the trailer that much.
The trailer freaking gave so much, not even in
Yeah.
terms of story, but all of the big, huge comedic moments.
Yep.
Well, even some of the action scenes, there's a lot in the trailer that I'm
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
oh, okay,
that's
well,
true.
we've kind of seen, like, a bunch of the scene of them clearing out the camp, King Shark ripping the dude. Like,
Yeah.
that was awesome, but that was
Yeah.
in the trailer.
It was
I'm
in
like,
the
that's-
red band,
Yeah.
Him kind of getting slung by the starfish
Yeah.
through
Yep.
the building and all that kind of stuff.
It's kind of
Well,
like
and that
they're
was like
just-
that only thing they didn't show, and they wanted it to remain a mystery even in the movie up till the end. And it was like, we know it's James Gunn, we know there's a giant starfish,
Yeah.
but they didn't want to show it till it actually. And it's funny.
Yeah.
But again,
Well, I
the
mean, and
antics
again,
itself. that the
Starro is a
movie-
character from the comics, so it's kind of like, if you know the comics and then, of course, seeing the clips from the trailer, it's like you already know what's coming by the end of the movie.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel sorry for him because he was just floating around in space looking at the stars.
that's all he wanted to do.
That's all he wanted to do.
I mean,
That's,
if we would've
again,
just left
Jeff,
him alone.
Jeff Goldblum, they didn't think about whether or not they should. You know?
You always
know.
find a way to work it in.
Yep.
Yo,
Every
life finds a
damn
way.
show.
Life finds a way. It's science. We won't leave.
And
stuff.
we-
We
So
don't.
do these quotes.
We just had
we
to screw
don't.
with it.
We don't leave well enough alone.
America just had
Yeah.
to screw with everything, and,
Yeah.
and we're to blame
Yep.
as always. I mean, that's the other thing that I couldn't stand about this film. It's like, what else do we need in our culture today that just shits all over America in general? and I mean, and look, and it's like, fine, okay, you have your own criticisms,
Yeah.
but this movie was billed as something that was from the horribly beautiful mind of James Gunn.
Something
Yeah.
we've never seen before.
Something we've
Yeah.
never seen before in a
I have.
shake-up.
I've seen
Of-
Deadpool.
Exactly.
I've seen it before.
I've seen all of James
Exactly.
Gunn's other films. The macabre and bloodier humor
Yeah.
is in Slither and Super. And then, of course, the oddball family stuff's in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
It's like he just took Slither and Guardians of the Galaxy and made Suicide. It's like, I've seen these type of things from James Gunn. I told Brandon yesterday we were talking, I was like, like directors have a distinct style. Like James Gunn has his, but like you look at someone like Tarantino. Yes, Tarantino has a very distinct style, but you look at his best movies in Inglourious Bastards, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill. While they all have the distinct Tarantino style, they are all very different
Oh, yeah.
movies as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not enough for James Gunn to just have this weird, bizarre humor if he doesn't do anything else with it.
Agreed. And
Yep.
and honestly, that's where the movie kind of left me feeling empty, was in terms of the character development, in terms of the drive. I was expecting a little bit more, again, And I wouldn't say it was so much billed as something new we hadn't seen before, but it was supposed to be in terms of the comic book genre.
Yes, yeah.
And that was where I was left disappointed because, like you brought up, Deadpool and these other films like Guardians of the Galaxy, that Gunn made and already put a stamp on, in terms of the Marvel universe. It's like he just went over and did the same thing with the DC universe, but it wasn't anything unique. And in fact, so many of his instances where he was unharnessed in terms of just letting Gunn be Gunn all over the screen, I kind of had a problem with because it wasn't ultimately interesting by the end of the film. It was very much, there were so many moments where I was like, okay, you either cut that too early or you let that drag on for too long.
Yeah.
And it didn't end up affecting me in the same way as far as I think what he was going for.
Well, yeah, this film does that really bad. Like we talked about it after the film in the theater. It was like every emotional moment that they tried to build up and set, it's cut very quickly and killed with either an action scene or something really not even that funny. Like it was like every moment they build up, it died. They let it go nowhere.
Yeah.
And then even the comedic scenes, a lot of the times I found myself in the theater laughing, but I was laughing at just how bad it was. I wasn't laughing at it because I thought it was funny. There were scenes that I was just like, no, I don't even think that's funny. It's so bad that I am going to laugh at it. And I couldn't get comfortable with where the film was going. Like it just seemed like there were so many different turns that it took. And while they were very creative in there with their little kind of chapter markers throughout the film, which I did enjoy, I felt like it was just like, oh, no, we've got to go this. Nope, we've got to do this now. Nope, now we got to do this. And none of them really led to where
there wasn't a payoff.
No,
I think he crammed too much in, and you have the supposedly emotional stuff with Idris Elba's character and his daughter, and then Ratcatcher and her
too.
father,
Yeah.
and then Rick Flag supposed to have these emotional moments, and then you have Harley Quinn and the dictator dude, and it's like there's so much going on, and there's not enough focus or depth on any one character that none of the emotional moments land. It's just I don't care.
Again, talking about it being laughable when it shouldn't, those emotional moments are supposed the only one was Rat Girl.
Ratcatcher too.
Yeah, she was okay, but it didn't make me.
It could have been more,
way more impactful, and it didn't. By the end of the scene, I wasn't impacted as much as I think Gunn was going for.
Yeah.
But the one that really fell far flat and far short was the scene with Bloodshot and
Bloodsport.
or Bloodsport.
Bloodshot's Vin Diesel's character.
Oh, you know what's funny is
The
I
bad,
actually,
Oh, okay.
It was from that terrible movie we reviewed like a year ago.
So who was Will Smith? What
Will
was he?
Smith's
That's
Deadshot.
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 Man,
But
I
were
get all these.
That was another
really
thing
bad
that really
superheroes
bothered
mixed up.
me. Is they said it was never their plan for Idris Elba to take on Will Smith's role. He was always going to be Bloodsport because some people thought he was going to be Deadshot and just replace Will Smith.
Right.
That's fine, but the plot around him is the same plot as Will Smith and Deadshot in the first Suicide Squad. We're going to threaten your family and your daughter, and you're going to do what we want. And I'm like, okay, so...
And he's an excellent marksman.
Yes.
That's it.
In fact, in the comics... I do think what they did was unique, but I just thought it was kind of odd they went this route. In the comics, Bloodsport can just pull weapons from anywhere. Like, he could just pull them out of thin air. So they did that by having his suit, all the attachments he pulls off. And it's that's a cool way to go about that, but how come you made his power logical, but then you still went all out with the weirdness with Polka Dot Man and all the... why?
Yeah.
Where was the logic here that we're going to make sure Bloodsport's realistic, but the other ones don't
it's
matter?
almost like they needed him to be rooted, I guess. The one
Grounded,
rooted,
yeah.
grounded. Same with, I think... oh gosh, the title character, I forget. He ends up not really playing a huge lot. I'm forgetting his name.
The Suicide Squad? Because that's the title.
No, gosh,
You said title character.
Is it Flag? Yeah,
Oh,
Flag.
Rick Flag?
Rick
Yeah.
Flag. I thought he was kind of supposed to be the informal leader.
Yeah, he
of
is.
the one that
he's
everybody
the only
took
one that's not a
seriously.
convict. He's an actual military that's supposed to.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the other thing, and I know some people and a lot of critics would probably say, "Oh no, you don't need that much information." That was part of the charm is you don't know why they're in prison. They're just supposed to get years off their sentence, and I'm like, no. Part of this intrigues me, especially with the scene at the beginning where you're setting up Bloodsport. And the fact
they
that
gave why he was in prison.
Right.
He put Superman in the hospital with the
Well,
kryptonite bullet. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so we have this one reason.
So now we know why he's dangerous.
But even then,
We don't
so
know why he tried to shoot Superman.
Exactly. We have no reason for that. We just know that he wants his daughter to stay far away from him.
Yeah.
We don't know if he was a hired hit or a hired gun or
Because
something.
nothing he does in the movie makes him seem that villainous.
None of them do.
Yeah.
I mean, even Harley Quinn is probably the most, and that's because we have the most backstory on her.
Yeah.
And we know
But
how
her actions
sadistic
in this movie
No.
aren't particularly villainous.
No.
No, you actually have empathy for her.
Yeah.
Well, that was the way
She
he
takes
built
out a
all
ruthless
of them.
dictator. I mean,
Yeah.
is that villainy? No.
But he does that with all these characters.
Yes.
They're all redemptive in the fact that we're just supposed to like them, or because they're likable and we laugh at them, they're supposed to be
Yeah.
okay people, wholesome people. I'm like, I don't buy it.
Well, one of them's a shark, so he's not a wholesome person.
He's
but
the only one that but he doesn't
he just
know any
replaces
better.
Yeah.
Croc
He's
or
just a
whatever the
dumb
guy's
Killer
name
Croc.
is.
He's
Killer
just
Croc.
a dumb friend.
He doesn't know any better. Yeah.
That was bad. That one, yeah.
That was bad.
This was
King
don't
Shark
get us
was
wrong.
way better.
This movie was better than
yes.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong.
Oh, we gave the
But-
original 1 star. And I actually looked at our
It was bad.
redmoonproductions.com Suicide Squad, not the Suicide
Yeah.
Squad, and our review was 7 seconds. And it was Keith going, yeah, this movie's garbage. Don't go see it.
That's the only movie I've ever just one sentence. Yeah, bad. Don't do it.
It was
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Well, no. There was one other one.
Oh,
And
yeah?
they happened to both fall in the DC universe.
Oh, Batman v Superman
was
yeah.
also that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, I think the problem
Those probably are the
is-
worst 2 movies in the DCEU.
Well, it's still a struggle because DC is trying to turn that corner, and this was supposed to be that other that landmark, you
Yeah.
know, in terms of.
It's
They
like I
didn't-
said, even
try.
with Marvel directors, they still can't do
But
it.
they're bringing James Gunn. They said it's not going to be the last DC movie he directs. I mean, they do view it as a huge success, and I mean, technically it is. It's making money, and most fans
Actually,
like it.
no, we're going to talk about that.
Uh-oh.
It is not doing. It's
Oh.
a success on HBO Max.
Yes.
but
Okay,
it's not a success in
Yeah,
theaters.
they're
Not
like it's
necessarily
breaking
box
COVID
office.
records and
Yeah.
all this stuff, and I'm
No.
like,
It made 70 million worldwide
Yeah.
just this weekend alone. To put that in perspective, over the course of its entire run, Suicide Squad, the original, sucked and critically panned, and fans didn't like it. Most fans, but it made 700+ million at
Wow.
the box office.
Well, that wasn't during COVID. You got to adjust for COVID numbers.
yeah,
That's
and
what
of
everybody
course.
says.
But
they're
again-
they're saying it's not a success, but it really is because you're not adjusting for COVID.
But if you're setting your, it doesn't matter. It's still got to be a success in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
financial
Yeah.
before
Oh,
they
yeah.
fund more.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, but with Wonder Woman 84 being lackluster, this one being lackluster, again, it just puts a sour taste in your mouth with regards to the DCU. And I know people out there are going to be like, no, they love it. There's some people who love this film, think it's great. I think we had a comment from Brevin, one of our followers on YouTube, and
Yeah.
he commented and said he thinks it's one of the best of the year. And
a
that's
lot of
fine.
people do. I mean, critics are praising it. It's got like a 90 from critics and an 80 something from audiences. So, like I said, our
That's
opinion's
actually-
kind of
yeah.
the unpopular opinion.
Right.
Yeah, it
But
is.
I still stand by it. I don't think
Yeah.
it's as good. I
well,
think
I gave it 2. So
I think a lot of people bought into the hype, and I think a lot of people are just because it's DC and it's James Gunn, and it is refreshing in the sense that it is entertaining. It's not the same just
True.
Yeah.
brooding
I wasn't
just-
bored during the film.
no Jared Leto.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
That's a
actually,
plus on its own.
I actually read one article, and it's one of the articles we linked to tonight from Variety that was talking about its poor box office results.
Uh-huh.
And they were doing a litany of well, again, you don't have the huge draws like Will Smith as a main, because apparently Cena and Idris Elba don't pull in the crowds like Will Smith and Jared Leto. And I'm like, who the hell cares about Jared Leto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
Who
was
cares
making
about Will
fun.
Smith anymore?
True.
Yeah.
What has he done for me? Nothing. Nothing lately.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, Idris Elba's probably a bigger money draw than Will Smith right now.
I would say so.
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand
Margot
that.
Robbie,
Margot Robbie is a
absolutely.
huge one. Yeah.
But I think the disappointing thing in this ultimately is, for me, I wasn't bored at all during the film, but I was so disappointed, especially after having seen the trailer.
Yeah.
And there was just so, again, you usually get a glimpse in the trailer, and we've talked about this in recent, within the past year, about how trailers tend to spoil more, whereas our good buddy Neil in Boston has told us all the time he hates watching trailers
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I think with this film in particular, you at least hope and expect someone like James Gunn where, we just saw that in the trailer, but that scene's going to be at least 2 or 3 more minutes long.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even more humorous.
No.
Every single scene that you see in the
It was
trailers
the highlight reel.
start and end in that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, why would you do that?
Yep.
Why would you set yourself up for failure in that way? You put all of the best parts of this film into the trailer. It was such a disappointment.
Yeah.
And I hated that by the end of it, I'm walking out, and that was part of the huge reason why. I still think overall, narratively and structurally, it doesn't hold up well.
I don't think the trailer really impacted my rating at all because, like I said, for me, my biggest problem, it wasn't even the comedy or the weird stuff as much as that just felt like the movie had no substance. The story wasn't one I felt like was like it's just them on another mission, which is fine. I get that's the point of the Suicide Squad, but I didn't feel like the mission mattered. I didn't feel like the characters mattered. I was like, there's no substance here other than that just bizarre humor, and that just wasn't enough for me.
Alrighty, guys, I think that's it. 2.5 out of 4 stars
Yep.
for the Suicide Squad.
DC, you know, they
Obviously, hey, we still want to support the DC, especially if they're heading in this upward trajectory.
I want to see the Snyder Cut. I just want to see the Snyder Cut.
I want to see the Snyder Squad, okay?
Snyder Squad.
Well, the Snyder Squad.
Hashtag
Well, if you're
Snyder
going to do that, you have to let David Ayer. David Ayer wrote a whole letter that he posted on Twitter about how he put his heart and soul into the original Suicide Squad, and it was an extremely personal movie from where he was in his life at that point, and that the character depth was amazing, and it had beautiful, rich themes, and then Warner Brother gutted the movie and ruined it. I'm like, I don't believe you.
I don't want to see it. Show it to us.
That's right.
That's what they're saying.
Well, I want the
that's
Ayer
what he wants.
Squad.
He wants Warner Brothers to let him
Let
give
him
him
do
his
it.
cut.
Why the hell not?
Why
We're
not?
letting everybody else remake their own movies, so why not?
Why not? What the hell's wrong with that? Ayer cut.
He put his vision of Jared Leto's Joker was in the theatrical cut. That actually was part of his cut. So if that's what the rest of your cut has, I don't want it.
But it doesn't matter. We saw him in the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
Jared Leto's Joker was
Give it a reach around.
redeemed.
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty, guys, I think we're ready to move on to
I'm ready
our
to move on.
headlines. Let's roll that beautiful open. Uh-oh, she's whining. She was joining in on the
I think
scatting.
she was scatting too.
I think she was
shat.
scatting.
I heard it.
I think she was shattered.
Yeah.
She was trying. She
Yeah.
wants to. She wants to go out and poop, but she's got a little while to wait because we're just getting started with our headlines. Okay. So we already talked about it a little bit, but
This
yeah.
half calf's not enough. So I'm over here yawning.
Uh-oh.
I
He's
need
falling
full.
asleep.
I need full calf. Full
See,
calf.
we need that with a little bit of bourbon mixed in. A little bourbon mixed with some creamer. That would wake you up.
Got the bourbon and cream. Good.
So the Suicide Squad flopped at the box office, only bringing in $70 million worldwide.
Pathetic.
That's pretty bad.
Jungle
26.5
Cruise
is
For
Black
US.
weekend.
F9, Black Widow, Jungle Cruise. They all trounced that.
They did, and that's now. Granted, again, here's what we're hearing. Okay, and this is part of what's in the news, and I agree with it because of the hysteria that COVID-19 and the Delta variant is one of the major causes. However, if you read the episode title of our show tonight on Facebook or YouTube, it clearly states that COVID is not responsible for the flop that is the Suicide Squad. And the reason I stated it that way is because I happen to believe that so much of this is self-inflicted with regards to our own communities and with how much people are fearing the Delta variant and taking on this idea that COVID is back in full swing. Even though we have more than half the American population vaccinated, and we have more than, plenty of people who are doing the mask mandates now that have been instituted across the country.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, I think too many people are fearing getting back to normal, and they're taking up arms against the idea of getting back to normal, and they are sitting now in their homes because HBO Max released that, yes, this was their second highest grossing movie since HBO Max's
I think
launch.
that's going to continue to happen too, as long as you still have the streaming releases alongside theatrical releases, and as long as people in the media keep pushing this COVID scare and don't go back to normal, people will be like, okay, well, fine, I'm going to sit in my home, I'll watch it on streaming, I don't have to go to the theater. And then that just cannibalizes their sales.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, I mean, maybe you have more viewers on HBO Max, but you can't tell me that the $15 subscription is going to equal all of the ticket sales, because you can fit 20 people in your like in my basement watching one movie on one subscription, as opposed to all of the ticket sales you would get from
you
those
wouldn't do
people.
that, though, because that's a super spreader event.
We social
not,
distance and
dude?
wear masks.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we're all 6 feet apart wearing masks while watching it.
We
it's
could maybe
okay.
do that at your house, Sean.
Yeah.
Your TV's
I got
huge.
small feet. We can be 6 of my feet apart.
There you go.
Get
Yeah,
us a little
you
closer
just take
together.
off your
It's
shoe and
just-
that's all. That's how you measure a foot.
I'll give you 6 size 7s. Size 8. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's a
It
little
depends on the
small.
shoe.
Depends on the underwear.
Now, New Balance, I can wear a 9. It's really weird. Under Armour is an 8.
Oh,
Completely
I
different.
can usually stretch it to a 9.
I have a feeling Warner Brothers will still tout this movie as a success, despite
They are.
whatever they're going. Yeah, they're going to be
Yeah.
like, "Well, look, look at how many people watched it." It's like the only reason we didn't make money was because of COVID. That's COVID's fault, not ours
Was
or the movie's
HBO Max,
fault.
was it out last year? This time last year?
It was, but
Yeah.
they,
It
there
didn't have
wasn't
anything.
anything good. There wasn't
No.
anything on there.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering.
because remember they released alongside the fact that I think Disney Plus released last year, didn't it? Or was it? Or was it? That was the fall of 2019. My bad.
Yeah.
But HBO Max was already in full
HBO
swing.
Max was like the spring or summer of
That's
last
right.
year,
But
yeah.
the problem was
there
they
was
kind
nothing
of
out yet.
well, and they realized too that it wasn't actually pulling in the same subscriptions.
That's when they
that
said
were
we're
expecting.
going to release our theatrical movies.
Well, they did
on
that in
streaming."
December.
Yeah, with Wonder Woman. They
Right.
said they were going to do that for the rest of the year.
And
after Wonder Woman was a
I honestly,
success.
with the way things are going, it's like, especially with something like Dune and it being a huge property.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Here's the thing.
That's
That's
what's
in what,
just around
October?
the corner.
That's
Well,
October.
they said they're not. Warner Brothers has announced they're not going to do this next year. They're not going to release on HBO Max
they
and
will.
theaters.
They say
No,
that.
no, they said there's going to be they made a deal with theaters for a 45-day
That's
window.
right.
We're going to be
first.
locked down next
Yeah.
year.
Maybe.
We're going to be locked down by
I'm
October.
just saying, if it's
I bet
not,
you.
but they've already made a deal with the theaters, 45-day window, then to HBO Max. But here's the thing. Everybody's talking about, like Scarlett Johansson and her lawsuit with Disney, but as outspoken as Denis Villeneuve's been about Dune, I honestly wouldn't put it past him if they did say, no, we're still releasing Dune streaming and theaters, for him to maybe go that route, because he's very adamant that this movie needs to be theatrical only. And I'm not saying he will or won't. I mean, I don't want to start that rumor, but I mean, how many more of these movies are going to release like this before other people finally say, we're tired of this crap. Like, this is affecting our pay now. We don't support this.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the thing is I've actually read a few articles where they're giving credit to WB because they
Oh, yeah,
they were
people-
getting screwed in the beginning when they announced this, but they actually sat down with a lot of the producers or the production studio heads, and they were just like, okay, well, or the producers, and they were like, well, let's figure this out and try to give a fair cost to the people.
Now, if they
and the
actually
actors and
worked
actresses.
out a decent deal with the actors and
they
directors,
say that. That's
yeah,
all
say-
Yeah.
hearsay.
that would be more than Disney did, and in that regard, I would give Warner Brothers props, but I don't know how much they have actually done that.
Right. I mean, I will say, as much as we can call, Warner Brothers stupid for just having come out and, made a blanket statement of, and they just released
Yeah.
that info, and then everybody was pissed. It's like, you at least had some time to kind of negotiate, whereas
Yeah.
Disney, it's really been on a case-by-case
Yeah,
basis.
Disney's just like, when we decide to do it, we'll do it.
Right.
You have no choice in
and
the
you,
matter.
and you look how that screwed over, ScarJo and Black Widow and why she's suing, let alone, I don't know. I just think it's interesting because, no, I didn't particularly like the Suicide Squad, but I hate a movie like this to fail on such a huge level, especially when it's worth a watch. It's worth going and enjoying, some popcorn over at the theater. And for us to have literally had 2 months ago F9 come out,
Yeah.
and it was literally we were seeing this huge bump back in the audiences, and now it's just steadily declined ever since, simply because of talk of COVID coming back around and people being scared. And I hate to admit that it's like, okay, that may be part of the reason, but I don't think people need to be. If you're vaccinated, if you are able to get out there and see these films in theaters, go do it. Support the theaters and support these films.
Am I not allowed to go?
No.
no.
You must get the shot. And you know what? Soon enough.
You're not allowed to live. I'm
You're
just be
not.
honest with you. Like, you just need to go out back, dig a hole, lay in it, and let someone bury you, because that's all you're worth right now.
Soon they're gonna inject something in the back of your neck,
They're going to get me while I'm sleeping.
and you're gonna have to go on missions and save.
They're
the world.
the next time you have to
Yeah.
go to the ER,
Yeah.
you're not gonna know it. They're gonna put an IV in, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, we vaccinated you."
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's coming, man. Mandates are coming nationwide. It's gonna happen.
They're gonna hold
It's
us
scary,
down.
but again, don't let this crap scare you. It's the
I'm
thing
not.
that they're not
We're
reporting.
at 1/5 the amount of COVID cases that we were this time last year.
Yeah.
And we're more scared now than we were this time last year.
And not only that, but you don't even, that's cases. You don't even take into consideration hospitalizations or deaths.
Yeah.
And even though hospitals are getting overwhelmed, as they say, they're not sitting here telling you, for one, how long people are staying, or versus also which
They're getting overwhelmed with vaccinated people, though.
The
The Delta variant is affecting vaccinated people more than it's affecting unvaccinated
I
people.
don't know about that.
It is.
I haven't
The
read
CDC
anything.
put those numbers out.
If your camera's also askew. Sorry. There you go. Now it's back.
Well, I wasn't talking,
I know, but I just wanted to fix it.
but now I am talking.
But no, I don't know.
I moved it so I could read my iPad, and then I was going to move it back when I started speaking.
Read us something good.
I was reading the articles that are in our headlines.
I would say that right now you don't have anything to worry about. The CDC clearly states all these different scare tactics.
we
In
You
my
got the
opinion.
Delta virus, and then you're going to have the Victor virus and the
Lambda.
Zulu virus.
What got the Lambda?
What
I'm
gets
waiting to get
me
to Omega.
Is they act like
Omega.
it's this
Omega
big
virus.
shock that in the summer cases spiked, but it's like, okay, cases spiked last year because, again, it's the summer, more people are going out, more people are in contact with each other.
Right.
The difference is it's nowhere near the same number of cases as it was last year. Like, we already knew that cases, like, that's what happens. It's
It's
going to
get bad this winter, too.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
happened last year. It's going to happen
kinda
this year.
predictable.
But the difference is, look at like you said, the amount of hospitalizations and death versus last year. It's like, yeah, if it spikes, but the spike's a difference between 20 people and 2,000 people. Well, that's a huge difference.
Now they've got people like putting out, like doctors and stuff are putting out things in that, like they're being interviewed and they're all saying the same thing. They're saying, hopefully nobody gets shot, or you don't need to have a heart transplant because we don't have any beds for you right now because all the beds are full of COVID patients.
Yeah, that's-
so,
yeah.
and this is all the fault of people who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah,
by
it's
the
your
way.
fault.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
They've stated that. We
Yeah.
know that's the real reason.
Which, and again, is like, well, if it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated and
Why
they
would you-
chose not to be vaccinated, then
well, not only that, why would you think that you're helping the cause by scaring people into thinking that even if you get vaccinated, you're still going to get it? And here's the other thing. If it has been proven, at least right now, the statistics show that 96% of the people who have been vaccinated are not hospitalized or do not die.
Right.
And you're talking about that percentage out of the small percentage of those who were going to get it anyway, and how likely you were to get or contract of COVID. Nobody's taking into consideration herd immunity or what percentage we're at herd immunity. The CDC's last figures that came out, they strictly curtailed that down to somewhere below 50%. And they're like, after a year of having this, there's no way we're only at 50% herd immunity. And not only that, but then you take into consideration the masks mandates and how ill-advised it is to wear masks that are cloth, because the Delta variant can easily go through cloth masks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many things in which, if you are watching the news, if you are paying attention to every major news outlet out there and the media headlines, they are going to scare you into thinking that you can't leave your house again for a few more months. Go back in and lock down. And I think that's why you're seeing the turnout, the poor turnout at places like, theaters and restaurants and frankly those
I don't
who
leave
are
my
in
house anyway, so
you're just a hermit. or people who
except
are
for when I come here.
who are
the
also
only people I'm
mandating
spreading
that
it
you
to are you
show people who are mandating that you show your vaccination card, and and I think that's also a problem. It's a problem. It's like, I understand people who are wanting to push it and try to convince those, hey, get the vaccine, we're all safer. But it's like, you're not going to do it by either forcing them or scaring them into getting it.
I think we just need highway road checks, and you pull up, and then the Gestapo are like, "Let's see your vaccination card," and you get your vaccination card out, and you show them, and they're like, "All right, you can keep going, move along."
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, but hey, when we say that and we joke around about that,
we're bad
We're
people.
being the scary
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
We're the ones trying to scare people.
Fear mongers. Yeah.
All righty, guys. All right, let's move on to our second headline, which actually has to do with some comic books.
Yeah. Marvel and DC again.
Yeah.
Still both.
This is actually pretty interesting.
I was already aware of this. It's kind of old news that I think people, as far movie related, it's not old news. People who know comic books have known for years that the writers don't get paid jack, because when you write for Marvel or DC, at least back in the day, it was their property, so you didn't get crap out. Like a lot of people now, and especially some of these other comics like ID and Image and Dark Horse. Like some of these were founded by writers who were mad at Marvel and DC, so they founded their own comic book franchise because like people like Robert Kirkman, he owns Walking Dead. It's even though it's published by Image, he owns it. So anything that somebody wants to do with that, just like if you write a book, you own the book. Viking just publishes the book, but they don't own. Stephen King owns the rights to The Stand. If you want to make a movie, well, Marvel and DC, the reason they own Superman, Batman, whoever, or Marvel, it's Spider-Man, X-Men, is because even though those characters and books were created by some other writer, contractually Marvel owned them.
Right.
So then there was nothing those writers can do, and now it's saying that they're only for the movies. When they get movies, the only pay these writers are getting are about $5,000.
Well, they're getting like these $5,000 payouts and these hey thanks for
thank you
doing
for your
this.
contribution.
Even though a lot of these characters are new within the world of Marvel and DC, and a lot of someone I think they mentioned in the article specifically like Bucky Barnes and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
and
he's relatively he's not new in the sense that he was around, but they killed him off because he was a kid sidekick and Stan Lee hated that Batman Robin idea. He hated kid sidekicks. He thought they were gimmicky. So when Stan Lee took charge, he ended up killing off a lot of kid sidekicks like Bucky Barnes. But then later on, not that long, I think it was just a couple decades ago, they came up with the Winter Soldier idea and brought him back as the Winter Soldier, and he's been a very popular character since. But yeah, they're not really.
But I never knew that.
And not only that, but he's not only popular in that sense, but then he's more popular because of something
of the
movie
movies,
and the show. And so now you have these people who have been a direct influence on that character arc and how popular they are, and yet even though apparently this was where Marvel and DC would get into because they mentioned they have boilerplates now where they have these contractual agreements with certain artists, and apparently you can negotiate your contract to the point of
they're
more
a little
popular,
better now than they used to be, but still.
Well, but even some of the artists are saying that the contracts are kind of stipulated by them stiff-arming you, saying, well, we're only going to give you this much, or even if we negotiate your contract, I think one artist in there specifically says the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
And it's like you have an agent who's going and breaking down, Marvel and DC's door to the point of them trying to say, hey, we're trying to get your attention. This character and the popularity you have with it wouldn't be here without this person and what they contributed. And so, in those cases, Disney or AT&T, who owns a lot of what DC owns a lot of DC, or they own DC, I believe.
Warner Brothers owns DC.
Or Warner Brothers owns DC, but isn't Warner Brothers owned by AT&T?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's like you have these two major corporations that are willing to almost say, oh, okay, you're right, our bad. Let's
for now until the Discover deal goes there. We haven't heard much from that.
True. But again, I mean, you have to. I understand it from the perspective of, like anybody who is willing to fight for their right to get paid, you absolutely have a reason to stand up and say, hey, this is my work.
Yeah.
For instance, the one agent for the person who really kind of created the story arc of Thanos in the Marvel movies.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He kind of had him going and saying, hey, Disney, didn't know you were going to make that big of a character out of Thanos. But now that you have,
which is kind of funny considering how huge a character he is in the comics too. It's
yeah,
like, if he's in the movies, he's probably going to be just as big.
But
I still understand the point.
But you're talking about a $20 billion industry out of just the Infinity Saga alone.
Yeah.
And off of those movies, it's like these guys get $5,000 and a thank you. It's like, come on, is that really fair?
But I mean, well, and Jim Starlin, who created Thanos, he did negotiate a deal, but that's. Because there's a few in the article, like Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's written for both Marvel and DC. Yeah, he's stated that he doesn't feel like he personally has been cheated. Like he's negotiated good deals with Marvel and DC, but he does feel that other smaller,
if you want to talk
unknown
about,
writers.
But here's the thing: somebody like him scares me, and the reason he's defending, for one, he's doing that for his own personal.
Oh
image,
yeah, because
he's bigger outside of comics, and the whole reason he was brought in was to make him woke.
Oh yeah.
They're going to be more woke because of someone like that writing comics. Sorry, had to throw that out.
Absolutely. But yeah, it is. That's absolutely what he's there for. It's absolutely why they brought him in to do this new Superman movie. I
Right.
absolutely believe that. Yeah.
And not only that, but he's also at least admitting to the fact that his writing is only a part. Most people.
Yeah, he
in
didn't
terms of the
create.
art-
He didn't create Black Panther or Captain America. He
Hell
did
no.
write for those series, but they were characters long before he
Oh,
was
yeah.
born. So
But it's just interesting because as much as these artists are willing to just do their normal, it's like they say they just kind of do one gig at a time and they get paid for it.
Yeah.
And they don't really think much about it. But at the end of the day,
unless
is it
you're
really
Stan Lee, and then you get paid for everything, whether you made it or not.
there was a wife of one of the artists in the article talks about breaking down into or busting into a room at one of these Comic-Con events where Stan Lee was, and I forget one of the other major artists. But they were basically praising DC and Marvel for the fact that they had been paid well and that they didn't have any gripe or complaint. And she busted in and she was like, well, yeah, because you all are the ones who've struck up these deals and everybody knows your name, but nobody knows these other artists' names, and they're the ones that get buried in the credits that nobody, they just kind of give a pat on the back to. And at the end of the day, look, business is business. And I'm not saying it's right for Disney and Marvel to, act in this way, or even DC for that matter. But
it's also the contracts that were signed. And I'm not saying that that's right that DC and Marvel made but it's like, again, you sign the contract, and like
Right.
they're saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's like, if you're making that
You gotta fight
contract,
for it.
you got to say, no, I'm not signing that. That's a bull crap. Like Jack Kirby, he worked for both DC and Marvel because he felt Stan Lee screwed him over. He went and made stuff with DC. They kind of the same way, and a lot of people had no idea who Jack Kirby was for years until
mentioned in
recent.
the article,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
people know him now because they did realize that he is just as fundamental in creating as many of the iconic characters and stories in Marvel as Stan Lee. And a lot of people don't know him compared to Stan Lee because Stan Lee's the face of Marvel.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately, it's like this is what you get with big business. You're going to have things that fall through the cracks like this because they're not noticed or they're not, brought to the forefront. And that's kind of what we're talking about here and in terms of what this article is talking about is, well, it's time to bring it to the forefront because a lot of what we have now, this newfound love for these comic book superheroes comes from these guys and what they created. And they're just kind of getting overlooked by the big,
And
Well, I think
publishers.
the way some of this normally happens, though, is a lot of these contracts are old. These contracts are made back in the 70s and 80s when some of this some of the amounts we're talking about were big numbers back then. Not in this particular case. I'm just saying these contracts sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sell this idea,
It's
and
enough
it's
to
gonna
eat.
it's gonna make me a good chunk of money in 1976. But then come 2020, 2021, new things are being negotiated. We're taking a character you sold to us for $5,000 and we're turning it into a $2 billion thing. And that's I understand you as an artist you'd be sore about something that's like something. Wow, this is making billions of dollars now, and they paid me this much. But this is a different
and
thing.
I think
though.
it's a forewarning to the artist. It's like, look, don't necessarily crap on your own. I mean, I think about it in terms of how much are you willing to offer of your craft? Because here's the thing:
Yeah.
nobody's famous or nobody's big until they get noticed.
Yeah.
And before that, you're willing to do and whatever, practically whatever,
Yeah.
depending on the
Yeah.
artist,
Taking what
to
you
get
can get.
attention and to take what you
Well,
can get.
it's like
There's no guarantee
just
that
like-
you're going to turn out success.
just like making a movie. It's like, okay, you look at Disney's properties, their own properties, like Mickey Mouse. It's like, yeah, they might have other writers and directors that work on that, but Disney still owns that property, much like Marvel and DC owns these characters. The difference is that the directors, the producers, the writers, they fight for a decent wage, and then they still get royalties. It's like, yeah, George Lucas may no longer own Star Wars, but he still gets royalties off of it
Yeah.
because he made sure that's in his contract.
Right.
It's the same thing with these writers. It's like, it's one thing, that you don't own the character DC does, but that doesn't mean that you don't get paid. That means you need to make sure you fight for a good contract to be
Right.
like, okay, in the future, because I created this character
Well,
for you,
I was gonna say-
Right.
I want a percentage of what that character makes.
And it sucks that it's $20 billion later. But
Yeah.
it's like the whole reason this is being brought up as an issue is to say, okay, now is probably the time to be like, all right, look, we're not really creating any more story arcs or any more major characters until we know
I think it
that we're going to be compensated
also
fairly,
helps
because we know how big this is now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it helps now that these are big movie franchises, because this isn't like they just now decided to try to fight this. A lot of these writers, I know Jack Kirby, Alan Moore, they fought this for years. From the day they started writing till now, they've been fighting for these type of things. But it's just one of those things that comic books, used to be a kind of a more taboo, like only kids and nerds like that, and it just wasn't
It was
a
a
popular
subculture,
thing.
yeah.
So people didn't understand like the fight these writers were going through, and now that these are huge blockbusters movies and people are learning, they're like, oh, well, we didn't know this was going on.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's been going on for decades.
And I don't think anybody would argue that, it's not that Disney or these other major publishers are not taking the risk when it comes to producing these huge multi-million-dollar productions. But it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, you've almost made a formula to where we know they're going to be successful, and to the point of
Any movie Marvel makes is guaranteed almost $1 billion at least.
except for when they release in a pandemic.
Yeah.
And alongside on
Not Black
streaming.
Widow. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, because it's like, if you know they're going to be successful, or you know they're going to make a certain amount, then you can factor in, okay, it's about doing the right and moral thing. And I know that's, it's like, what? You're going to ask that of a business? What? In capitalist America? Yeah. It's like, okay, we're calling you out, and it's time to do the right thing and fairly compensate those who have provided you the actual foundation,
billions
and the
that you're
structure
earning.
that
Yeah.
your billions are counting on. But that does it for our Marvel DC talk.
Yeah.
Let's get into our last and final headline before we move on to our Vices segment. And that just so happens to be Netflix inflating their viewer count.
No, they don't do that.
No. That's right. Everybody's heard the rumor, and Netflix has admitted, of course, time and time again.
Yeah, we've actually talked we
have,
we
yeah,
talked about this
yeah.
before. How we had there was no official statement, but we had read that Netflix counts 2 minutes as viewed, and here it is.
Yeah.
Truth. Yeah, it's official.
But do they do it in order to boost and inflate the numbers
No.
that they view,
No, they
or
wouldn't.
that they promote towards the public?
They
and
would
throw
never
out in
be
the public eye?
disingenuous on what they report.
Nah.
Yeah. Well, I will say the article is pretty. It does clarify some things, and it does make sense. As they specifically say, look, we're not in the same business as movies that release in the box office, because at the end of the day, all they care about is a ticket sale.
Yeah.
Because that's money in the bank, and they don't know if you
Yeah.
go.
You don't
and
have
actually
to watch the whole
movie
movie as long as you paid for the ticket. That's
Right.
all that matters.
They don't
Yeah.
care. And honestly, who's going to pay $15 and not watch the movie? It's your fault. Now, granted, for something like Dumbo, yeah, I'd walk out. When
We
it's a
didn't.
terrible movie.
Well, we've never walked out of a movie.
I really do. I mean,
Actually, I haven't. I don't think I have.
I really think
I haven't.
their reasoning for the 2-minute thing, being that it constitutes intentionality.
It makes sense.
I mean,
You don't think so? I understand where they're coming from.
There's a lot of stuff that I'll sit and watch 3 or 4 minutes of, or even 10 minutes of, and just be like, "This is stupid."
But that's their
but
point.
true, you still checked it out. Like, that's still 10 minutes of your time that you were like, I want
Yeah.
to check this out to see if it's any good or not.
I wish they would pay more attention to the ratings that people give things on Netflix, because you
They
can
don't really have them, though. You're talking about the thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, well, they used to have stars. I know
Yeah.
they don't have that no more. They
don't
got
do
rid of
that.
that. But yeah, if they paid more attention to the thumbs up and thumbs down, I can definitely. If I watch 10 minutes of a movie and I'm like, "This is stupid," it gets a thumbs down.
Well, they kind of explained that. They said that the 2-minute view is not weighted as much as if you do finish a movie. They said that's weighted a lot
Yeah.
more. But they said what that does is that gives them an idea into how something is marketed. And that basically, if you click off of it in 2 minutes, they take that as a consideration of, well, why would this viewer and this demographic click on this to begin with?
Yeah.
Was it the marketing? Was it the way the poster looked? Was it a certain
I see how they're separating it. I
Right.
just don't necessarily agree with
Like
it.
in their minds, they're basically saying, well, of course we count 2-minute views because that is data for us for a certain reason. Whereas, of course, when it comes to renewing shows or even coming up with new content, they're going to take into consideration those who
I do
finish.
like how they say if you're watching a movie for more than 2 minutes, then it constitutes poor quality if you back out after, let's say, like my example, 10 minutes. If I watch 10 minutes, I'm like, no, stupid. Then they're saying the
I
quality
agree
must
with
be
that.
bad.
Like they
because-
said, it's like
yeah,
if you bail in less than 2 minutes, then it wasn't likely
It's like
you were going to
accidentally
watch
started
that.
it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it's not likely you were going to watch that movie anyway.
It could have been your kid picking up the remote before you got in the room and clicked on it, and you're like, no, get it off that.
Yeah.
And you turn it off real quick, and so they don't count that as a view. Whereas, of course, if you're spending 10 minutes but you back out, they'll say, oh, well then, and I think they include the, what was it, 6 Underground in that, they include that in the article. They're talking about how
I read an article about that movie a couple days ago about how Netflix is saying that movie was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And they lost so much money on it. Like it was actually just very interesting because it was talking about how they were kind of boxed into a corner with having this huge action film that they wanted to push, and then it just
tanked. Nobody watched it.
It tanked, but it was because of poor writing. It was because of poor execution. Like they didn't want to release it, but they did because they had already spent so much money on it, and then it was just like it cost them more money. They made the movie, then they had to pay to release it, and they ended up losing so much money.
Yeah.
They lost more money because they released it than they would have if they would have just kept it.
Wow. And those are
So
there's
it
so many.
was very interesting.
There are so many. People don't realize that either.
Yeah.
There are a lot of movies out there in the ether that are just stuck. That will never see
They
the
never
light
see
of
the
day
light
or
of
don't
day
get
because
released.
it'll cost
Because
more
they're
just
in
to
that
market
boat.
and
Yeah.
produce and,
Yeah.
and distribute it than it would to just
That's crazy.
bite the dust. It's like sometimes you're better off just cutting your cost,
Yeah, pretty much. And
like they did with Dark Crystal.
I know
I'm
it
bitter.
always
I'm
bring
bitter
that
about
up.
that.
He's
I'm still
always
bitter.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess not enough people tuned in to make it worth
It's-
their while
so-
or make
so
it worth
what
the
you're
It is
saying,
an
though, on
extremely
here,
expensive series. So
when
yeah.
the movie is bad and you start watching it, you need to watch at least more than 2 minutes of it and
For
then
them to
quit. That
prove-
way to prove that it sucks.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll quit making crap like that.
yeah,
It's if you back out before the 2 minute mark, then they're just like, oh, he didn't mean to watch that, so it might still be good.
Yeah, you're I think you're right.
I mean,
think
really.
knowing this actually is probably more valuable for them. That's probably why they maybe came out and actually just they've probably said it there. I just found it on Screen Rant and I thought it was a interesting article. They've probably had this interview and talked and confirmed this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It's like Netflix is they are in a different game in terms of streaming wars than the box office score. They don't care how much a movie makes as much as it is how do we get our subscribers to stick with us and keep paying a monthly
They have
fee.
to make things that keep people subscribing.
Yep.
So even if it's garbage, if it makes people subscribe, they're like, I mean, Adam Sandler's movies that he's been making on there, it's like
I'll
none
be
of
them
the first
are good. One. I will watch that.
That's
crap.
what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I will.
They're terrible,
Yeah.
but everybody watches them, and a lot of people do like
he has
them.
another
so
Halloween movie this year.
Hubie
That's-
Halloween.
It was
Oh my
actually not
gosh,
bad.
that
I
one-
actually
yeah.
enjoyed
That
it.
one was
it
not-
was worth
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It was
that one was
stupid, but
okay.
it was funny.
Yeah.
And that's part of and that's probably what they consider to be a success. If people make it 75% or more of the way through it
Yeah.
before turning it off or finish it, they're probably going to count that as no, that's a major success. That's worth the investment of spending it on getting eyeballs on our service.
Yeah.
So I can't blame them. It's smart that they do this. It's smart that they're keeping this data. I mean, obviously they're making millions of dollars more than Red Moon is, so
Millions
they got to be doing something right.
or billions.
I thought they were in the red.
They are.
They are.
Well, then we're
We're
what,
good.
We're
We're not
breaking
gonna-
We're
even.
staying right at zero.
Breaking even.
We
So
are
we're
coasting
actually
at
making
zero.
More
Listen,
money than Netflix. I mean,
That's right.
We don't make money, but we don't spend money.
And I
either.
can tell you,
That's right.
the next budget of our short film, whenever that is, it'll be right on par with that. Okay, we will not spend a dime.
Not a dime. It will not be a 6 underground.
Alrighty, guys, let's move on to
Yep.
our vices segments.
do it.
Oh,
That was nice.
I like that.
Nice little touch.
Yellow coin. That's a vice money.
See, now I got to keep that on there for 10 more weeks.
bling, bling.
Every-
Bl-
That just proves to me that
bling.
you use that sound effect.
Show me the money.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, ding, ding.
That sounded like he was right here.
Now, who wants to introduce our unique weekly segment?
Well, only the creator should introduce it.
because there were technically 2 creators this week. I hate to say.
There was no.
Yes, there was.
When?
Because the first topic of hand deals with this very topic. And
I thought of my topic before he sent his text, okay? I just
You
didn't.
did?
but they
I
just
just
happened
beat
to
you to it.
coincide.
He just sent that, and I was like, actually, that fits really well together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Why don't you
Yeah.
introduce it, Keith?
Yeah.
I don't want to. Okay.
I will. He's like, I don't want to, but
Now I got to think of
I
what
threw
it
up the
is.
lower third, so it doesn't
Something
matter.
to do with competition.
How competitive,
How competitive are you?
Yeah, and there was like a sub there.
He,
It was-
he likes the whole
Is
the
it,
explanation I gave, in that some people are too competitive.
Yeah,
but
you over.
ultimately competitive people are more successful. So it can be a vice, it can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing.
That's
so,
very true.
There are some people who are very addicted to being competitive. Like they have to win at everything. They have to be
Yeah.
the best, even if that means trampling over everyone else to get
Well,
to
that's
the
what I
top.
was getting ready to say.
So-
Just because you're successful doesn't
yeah,
mean you're not
that's
an
what I'm saying.
a-hole.
And like, there's
very true.
being competitive is a good thing because it does help you become successful.
You
but
can
you
be
don't.
bigly successful, and you are an
You
asshole.
Yeah. It's a good example. No.
Huge rhymes. Huge rhymes.
Huge. And it's one of those things where I was thinking about, because I'm not an overtly competitive person in a certain regard. I do think when it comes to the things that I do, and like as far as like wanting to do the best at like what I do, like as far as my job, or I'm competitive in a sense with myself, in that I want to do something better than I did it last time, or come up with it even better. Like if I'm even like household chores, like it's almost like a game with me. It's like how can I come up with a better way,
better way to wash
like
these
to
dishes.
be yeah exactly, because I hate washing dishes. That's one I'm like. I gotta think of.
Well, because in that way
let
you're-
me put a scrub brush on a drill here. No,
But no, in a way, it makes sense, because that way you actually, if you're competitive in that regard, you don't have to wash them as often, or it's quicker. So you just get done faster, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's not as much of a
Yeah,
pain.
you just put them in the dishwasher as you use them, and then there's nothing in your
Rinse.
sink. And then
that's the problem.
2
So then I
hours
have
in
to
the
take
dishwasher.
2 seconds out of my life to rinse, and I don't want to do it. I'd rather spend 20 minutes angry at myself trying to scrub the dried stuff off the dishes because I couldn't take the 2 seconds.
I've gotten in the habit of now I have to rinse it off after I'm done, because I know if I just set it in the sink and it hardens, I'll be pissed at myself.
That's
Yeah.
what. Yeah,
That's
That's what
because
I'm saying.
everything
So,
you
yeah.
eat is frozen and requires ketchup,
That's right.
and the ketchup dries
Hey,
on the plate. And
Hey,
you can't
not
get
just
it off.
ketchup, Tony's. You got to sprinkle some of that Tony's on there.
Tony's?
Tony's.
Oh,
What's
man.
Tony's?
It's that Creole seasoning, man.
You put that on
Everything,
What?
on
On
everything, man. That's
for
stuff. You
fish.
could put it
The
in
Creole
ramen.
seasoning.
You could put it in
Yeah,
those
you put
healthy
Creole,
choice
but-
meals.
oh,
It's so
Lord.
good.
He's
Spicy, got a kick to
You need
it.
some of that slap your mama. That's what that
Slap
corn.
your
That's what I put
mama.
on the
That
corn
Frank's,
that you like.
Frank's
yeah.
Red Hot.
No, I'm talking about the seasoning. That's what I
That
put on
stuff
the
good.
corn that you enjoy. Yeah,
That
Frank's
stuff's
hot. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
But
But-
so
So
you're
competitive nature.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
Back to
competitive
that.
with yourself.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not competitive with other people, but as far as like
dog doing down
she's
there.
being
She is-
competitive, man.
God,
No.
she is being competitive
As far
with that
as
bone.
like sports and competitions, or like video games, board games, like I have fun. I mean, I play to win, because otherwise, why are you playing? But at the same time, I'm not so competitive that like I can't stand to lose. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wipe the floor with you, and if I lose, I'm just gonna throw a tantrum, or I'm gonna
got
yell
it
at my
up.
team. Like I'm not the type of person that's gonna yell at Brandon because he strikes out because we have to win, you jackass. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's people like that, and I think part of that was because I hated those people when I was growing up.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I know specific people that were like that would just be so pissed and like treat you like crap because it's like, well, now we're not going to win. It's like, well, I kind of hope we lose now because you're being such an a-hole about it.
yeah. I agree. I can't
I'm
stand
spiteful.
those
I may not be competitive, but I'm
people.
spiteful.
Ooh, that's a different
I like
vice.
that. I do like that.
That's a
though.
different vice.
It's like,
We
oh
can
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
that.
Well, now I'm gonna make sure we lose, a-hole. No, I would never
Damn.
self-sabotage, but
I don't know.
sometimes
I
I
think you
want
just
to do
admitted
it.
it.
Yeah, he
sometimes
did.
I want to do it.
It's like sometimes I lose out of spite.
He said that's what we call a spite shit.
Spite. That's what we call a spite loss.
Oh, yes.
But no,
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, I'm not competitive at all, except for when it comes to something I'm passionate about, and that would
Yeah.
be stuff we do here with the Red Moon, whether it be the audio drama, Margaret's Monsters, making
I
a
take
movie.
the biblical stance. The first shall be last. and the
Last shall be first.
Wow. And it doesn't work on Call of Duty.
You don't know.
It doesn't work for America.
When I'm in heaven, and whoever beat me's in hell, I'll be like, ha, no.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think there's good room for healthy competition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think
absolutely.
obviously you can get overwhelmed, and I'm with you. It's like when it gets to something that is so ridiculous, like I'm fine with being competitive in a sport where you know you're playing for fun. But when it gets to the point where you're yelling at people
Yes.
because they're not playing up to a certain caliber, and I'm like, this is not the NFL. I'm not getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
the bowling alley at Dixie Bowl. It's
Yeah.
like, look,
Oh,
like this
man.
was for fun. Like
we saw
yeah.
kids like punching freaking chairs when they would come back after bowling, you know, and just
They
Yeah.
were, yeah.
I mean, I get mad at myself if I'm playing to win and I'm not up to par. Like
Yeah.
I don't get mad at other people for being bad. I get mad at myself for
Yeah.
doing bad. Because even if I'm playing with people, like anything, if I'm playing a game or even like something like bowling or whatever, I don't get to go bowling very often, but if I did, like that'd be one of those things where if they were doing bad, I'm glad that I'm doing better than they are.
yeah.
But then when I do bad, I'm like down on myself. And I think like I definitely see that in my son. Like my son will shoot basketball, and I mean when he misses, every time he misses, it's just like, God, I can't ever make a shot. I'm like, you made a shot 10 seconds ago.
yeah.
Like it's like I never make a shot.
Yeah.
I'm
Overdramatic
terrible at
and-
basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you're not. You're actually winning right now. Like,
Because
but-
I can't make a shot.
yeah. But then, when it comes to like board games or something,
Yeah.
if you're winning and I'm not, you're cheating. You can ask my wife about that. My wife cheats at every game. Like she cheats at Mousetrap.
That's
we
what-
know
Like
she's
she can
better.
cheat.
That's
at-
when
she
you
can
just
cheat
flip-
at Candyland.
That's when
like,
you just flip the board over.
Yeah.
go bad Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you effing with me?
Yeah. Like Jesus in the temple. Flip the whole table over.
There's that. There's that.
There's that.
I love
There's
those videos.
that.
No, I do get very competitive over stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't let it negatively affect
Yeah.
me.
I think
Usually,
the
there's been
most-
times that I have.
I was going to
but not.
say, there's always times where I
Yeah.
think your emotions get the best of you,
Yeah.
especially in a competitive nature.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it's one of those things where I realize how ridiculous it is almost after the fact. And I mean, sometimes it's like you use it as a learning method of like, okay, I need to do this better.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to something like, I will be honest, like the film contest that I have entered in, it's like, of course
You
I
won
want to
best
win.
sound for?
But yeah, better than best use of baby. That was so god awful.
They just made up like that's how like best
That's what I
sound might have
knew
felt
it
like a
wasn't-
good reward, but when you win that after someone wins best baby, it's like y'all just made up awards
Yeah,
for each
that-
movie.
It's
Uh,
like
that's
at
what I
least
was
I
gonna
had
say.
a legitimate category.
They would have had to watch that film and
every-
been like,
Well, there was no
there's
other
nothing
film with
good
a baby.
about it, but that baby looks real.
Every
So let's give it that award.
every movie won something.
American
So,
Sniper,
Yeah.
It's like
best use of baby.
MTV Best Kiss.
But yeah, every movie at that competition won something. So that at that point it was like, well, this is pointless.
It was,
because
Yeah.
and that's the thing.
Everybody goes home a winner.
And,
Yeah.
and I think that's the alternate.
shame.
That,
I don't
at
even
the
wanna
other
compete.
end. That's what's so ridiculous is when you get to where there's no competitive
yes,
nature.
that's actually
That's-
a good point. The
that- I
opposite
think-
thing is just as bad. It's like, okay, don't like that.
I think
'cause
that
now I just
destroys
feel-
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, no, you should want to strive to do your best. No, you shouldn't walk away and beat yourself up over it. But no, it's okay to be healthy and competitive. Like you said, or even you were saying, like, it's okay to want to be successful. And
Yeah.
if you actually go after it, you're more than likely going to
It's like
succeed.
you don't have
than
to
just
cut
sit there
the throats of the people to get
No.
there, but at the same time, competition is a good thing, and wanting to be the best is what leads to success. That's what leads to innovation. If Steve Jobs didn't want to be the best, we wouldn't have gotten iPhone and iPad and all the crazy things that we've gotten.
They wouldn't be
So-
looking at our pictures in the iCloud.
Yeah.
now.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that Tim Cook just really wants to see that child porn.
Oh.
that hit the nail on the head.
Y'all didn't even know how to respond.
No,
to
I
that.
just I was lost for words on that one.
It's because I'm telling you,
I mean, it's
Steve
true.
Jobs
It's
didn't
just-
die. He just got uploaded to the cloud, and now he's trying to pull all this other information. It's like
He's
I
saving the
I
world
said,
from
I need-
child
I said-
pornography.
I said, I
That's
need
it.
the photos. I need their ID numbers. I need every. He's going.
Cannot compete.
Jobs
Cannot
is going to
compete.
rule the world
Yeah.
from inside the cloud.
Maybe Tim Cook has a problem with that. And
He's
instead
trying
of
to
just
fight him.
instead of installing like parental controls, he's like, I'm just going to create this algorithm and
Yeah.
it's going to search.
It's
the
going to
web.
delete Steve
It's gonna-
Jobs.
I can't
Oh, my
have
gosh.
child.
It's
I
a
can't
power
have it.
play. This is a whole sci-fi movie now.
Yeah.
He's trying to delete Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
from
No,
the
I was talking
cloud.
about child porn.
Oh.
I
Steve
think
Jobs
he's
is
got
trying to
he's
delete
got a
the
problem
child
with that.
porn.
We got
and he's
two
like,
different narratives.
Yeah.
No,
going
I
on.
mean, it's like the Suicide Squad.
Nobody knows where this
Yeah,
film's
we don't
going.
know where we're going. We're gonna end with a starfish because that's a slang for a butthole, and
Oh God!
he's got pictures of buttholes.
Oh no, we don't want to
In
talk
the cloud.
about that.
In
I
the
don't.
cloud.
Yeah, in the cloud, and I don't.
Yes.
Yeah, they're hashing.
The starfish was like, I was just floating in the clouds, looking at the sun.
Yeah, and then y'all pulled me
And
into
these stupid Americans pulled me out of here.
into the server network.
Anyway, speaking about America,
It's like the starfish is like, Dad, we've been digitized.
oh God, I called that line before it was ever said. But yeah, well, speaking about competition though, we're just wrapping up the Olympics, and one of the things that I really have noticed is that what happened to pride in the country that
Yeah.
you're there to support?
Yep.
These
Yep.
people won
Yeah.
gold medals and acted
Competition
like
amongst other
Yeah,
countries.
but even I'm actually like I'm proud of the awards that America did bring home, the medals that
Yeah.
they did. But it was like a lot of them. I'm just like, where's the fist pumping? Where's
Yep.
the you
Oh,
know?
there were few and far between.
Yes, it's
And-
just
but
like, are you
every
not proud
time-
to win for your country?
Every
No.
time I at
God,
least
a lot
heard
of them
one
have come
of
out
those
saying they were
speeches-
ashamed. It's like I'm doing this for myself because I'm ashamed of the country that I'm
Yeah.
for.
Well, that's
and I'm
what
like, then get out of
okay,
the
look,
Olympics.
For all the ones that I wish we would have hailed them and promoted them, but of course you don't see them anywhere in mainstream.
Right.
Oh,
You
no.
have to go and search them out. But
the
for
ones
those
that actually
who
say they're
did,
proud of America. yeah.
absolutely, and I'm proud of them.
Yeah.
But it's like for those, like even Simone Biles, and people can crap all over. I don't care. Look, for somebody who wants to sit there and say we don't owe you a medal, well then we don't owe you a spot on our team. Get off.
That's the way I
because
feel.
what you just did is work your ass off to get a spot on the team to then just crap out.
Mm.
So talk about your mental health all you want. You should have checked yourself at the door and figured that out
Or-
before you wasted our shot on a
Yeah.
team.
Or the same thing with the women's soccer team. It's like, you know why none of us care that you lost? Because you didn't support
because
us
you
anyways.
don't care
Yeah.
about us.
It's
You don't represent us.
You were too busy making everything about you to focus on actually playing, so therefore you deserved your loss.
And I think
Canada.
honestly,
Canada.
that's right.
Yep.
That's right.
A team we haven't lost to in I think it was 13 years.
That's what happened.
So
I knew it was great when
When
she
you
even
lose
said,
focus,
Oh,
you
she's
"I don't
lose
think
to
I've ever
Canada.
lost to Canada."
yes,
and I was like, "Good,
yeah,
good."
yeah.
But no, I think that is when competition as well has become too all-consuming. When you're so competitive that you don't even care about the team effort. Granted, I know there's individual sports,
Right, yeah.
But it's like even when it comes to the Olympics, the individual sports are for the name on the front. Like this is what has always pissed me off about Calipari with the Cats, and I hate to say it. He whenever he comes out there and he's like, I'm about the name on the back of the jersey, not the front. And I'm like, well, screw you.
Yeah.
Because the people who support these players and the team and the ability for them to even reach that
It's
echelon is because of the name
There's
on the front.
there's a reason. Yeah, there's,
There's
a
a
reason
unified effort.
you're in the
Yeah.
program you're in because it has gotten. I mean, it's
It
one
has
of the
the
top.
prestige.
It's
Yeah.
one of the top programs in the nation, and you're supposed to be there to further that, not just to be like, well, it's more about these. No, that's not how you teach people to be successful. It's to say it's more about you than it is for the business you're going to work for. So if it just.
Well,
it
I'll
makes
tell
me
you,
mad.
I aim to be one of the best hosts on this show.
No,
And
I do.
Exactly. And that's what makes me even better, is that you all compete with me every week.
I don't
We have to
You
compete.
give
You have
me-
master control
That's
over
true.
there.
I
I mean,
could
all
just-
you got to do is put the camera on you. all-
I could just mute you all whenever I want.
Yeah.
Oh. That was-
It's exactly the point is that we have to compete because if you don't, you just say, F you, I'm talking now.
It's my turn to talk. Oh man.
Tell us about your all's competitive spirit out there. Do you have one? Do you care? Could you care less? Do you just want to curl up in a ball and die? Well, hey, we'll die with you every single
I just
week
think we
on Tuesday night.
I just think that
Right.
competition is mean and everyone just deserves a little flag that says good job. Good job. Yeah.
And you can get that in today's world. Trust
True.
me, there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
trophy for that.
Yeah.
There used to be an app for
Yeah,
that.
you get
now
paid
there's
for
a
it now.
trophy.
Used to
Yeah.
you actually had to go to work to get paid. Now it's just like, well, you tried. Here's some money.
You're breathing, you deserve a living. Alrighty,
Oh my
guys.
God.
Right here, email us at the RM
we
Podcast
did.
at redmoonproductions.com. If you're pissed about anything we said tonight,
Yep.
let us know
Let us
right
know.
there.
It'd be the most comments we have.
Because I'll tell you
If
right
it's a
now,
negative, that's fine.
I don't care.
Nope.
don't give one crap.
Well, we just lost all our viewers.
No,
all
we're
three
gonna-
of them.
And we're going to keep giving you our opinions every week here on the Red Moon Podcast. That's right. Every week, Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow us, like, share, subscribe. All of our social media right there at the bottom of the screen. Keith is mimicking me right now. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Search for us there.
That's right.
All the different socials.
Jeez.
That's right.
So many.
So many. But thank you all so much for tuning in and supporting us week in and week out. We really do appreciate it. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it for this episode. So until next time.
What are we reviewing next week?
Oh, I guess we could throw that out there.
I think it's a movie that stars a movie star,
Oh.
personally, made by a production company.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That narrows it down.
I'm smart.
Okay.
I know things.
Free Guy. Starring Ryan Reynolds.
Ah,
Free Guy. It's not going to be free.
no.
Well,
he's a free guy, but the movie costs
Apparently,
money.
it's not a video game movie. That's what I've been told. But then they came out with a slew of production posters this week that were all
And a video
mimicking
game.
I mean,
video
he's-
games.
There's a video game now.
He's
called Free Guy.
he's
No,
but I mean, he's a
will
character
be.
inside of a video game. So
Actually,
I
that
mean-
would have been the ultimate like Ryan Reynolds troll.
I want
As
a
if they
Ryan
released
Reynolds
a Free Guy
skin for
game.
Grand Theft Auto.
that would be funny.
That would be
That would
legit.
be
good. That's what
legit.
they should have done. Was
And
team up
it
and
costs $1 million.
shark,
whatever
whatever it
their-
is, the shark
Their-
cards
their
or whatever.
their
yeah.
coins. Whatever,
No,
what
it
they're
should be
called.
free. And he's
Free
called Free
Guy?
Guy.
Free Guy.
Free
And they
guy.
just call him Free Guy. Except
I like your way of thinking.
you could keep playing with him, and then you have to pay $1 million to upgrade
This
to
is
his buff self.
Another movie that we've seen a trailer for a year and a half that I'm still interested in
Yeah.
it, but it was
I am
definitely
tired
I hope
yeah.
the trailer isn't the whole movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things where after seeing the trailer for a year and a half, if I go in and there's nothing more to it than that, I'm going to be disappointed all over again because it's like, listen, I wanted to see this movie, then I just got tired of seeing the same trailer over and over, so hopefully you deliver.
But we know that we deliver every single week on this show.
On the
And we're not going to
RM
let you know.
podcast.
At redmoonproductions.com. Email us. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it.
Yeah.
So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Sean Sebastian.
And,
I just didn't know if we were ending it now or not. It's our second ending.
yes, it's over.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.